he can come back in, but
I just have one.
continue.
One thing for clarification, on the resolution it says 3 years, but you guys say it's for 2 years.
2 years.
Yeah, so that just have to be adjusted on the resolution.
So I'll make the motion to approve the resolution with the adjustment of the contract being for 2 years.
2 years. Out. Did I have a second? I'm sorry, I got lost for a minute.
Yes, I second.
Center. Okay. Director Kyle Fox.
Yes.
Director Parent.
Yes.
Okay, computer's being weird, it's trying to back up. Director Calvins.
Yes.
Director Sangster.
Yes.
Approved 4-0, no absence.
1 absent.
Oh, I'm sorry, 1 absent. Retired, sorry.
Congratulations, Mr. Rivers.
Thank you.
Ms.
Hector
Rivers,
Bosley.
you're not gonna have a birthday party in here where you burn down the station again?
Oh my God.
It's a $50 candle permit fee.
It's my fault, thank you.
Bye, bye.
We'll move on to item number 5. Review and approve an agreement between the County of San Luis Obispo and
Try to
San
move out of
Diego
your way a little
Community
bit.
Services District for the county to continue collecting fire and public facilities fees on behalf of the district through the county's permit process.
So part of the fire prevention duties, Scott's been reviewing, the impact fees we get for building and construction. And ironically, he looked into the county and the county was glad he called, and I'll let him explain anything further that he can enlighten us with.
Please do.
Yeah, that's the nuts and bolts of it. While exploring the impact fees, the county representative contacted me and said your contract with the county is up for renewal, so it was serendipitous. And the county did send me their contract. I sent it to legal. Helene reviewed it, made changes. I sent it back to the county with the anticipation of having them laugh at us. But in lieu of that, they actually agreed to every change that Helene had made to the contract.
Cool.
So it's up for your approval. In a nutshell, construction pays their way. Excuse me. And 30 years ago, there was a study done. The study projected out how much, construction impacts districts, fire departments, and they came up with a fee schedule. The fee schedule is set in stone. It's not flexible. We cannot increase our fees unless we dissolve our agreement with the county. And other districts have done that. For example, I believe Templeton and Cambria collect their own fees, so they set their own rates. In our situation, we're in the same boat with Avila, Cayucas, Cambria, and of course us, where the county collects the fees for us, and then they give us the fees on a quarterly basis. Excuse my voice is going. The fees are solely for, they're called public facility fees or fire impact fees. They are capital restricted funds that need to be used for capital projects, vehicle replacement, things of that nature. They cannot be used for payroll. And we have to prove to the county that we spent those funds accordingly. If we do not prove to the county we spent those funds accordingly, we are required to pay those funds back 100%. So we just have to manage them properly. We have been managing them properly. We will continue to manage them properly. So I encourage you to approve this, and we can get it back to the county for. I think the sunset on it is July, so we're ahead of the curve, which is good.
So just so I understand, we cannot negotiate the fee schedule.
No.
Okay. Helene, what points of contention were there in the contract that we negotiated?
They were just merely clarifying points. They had a lot of vague provisions, and so I just went in to make them tighter.
Okay.
She did a great job. They approved every single one, without
That's
exception.
a feat in itself.
Yeah, with the county contract.
Why are they laughing?
What's that?
What were they laughing? They were laughing at, is it at the contract, or what were they laughing at?
I assumed that they would
Laugh at us.
reject our revision to their contract. They were not laughing at us. That was my inside voice telling me they're going to look at this and go, yeah, right, you want to change our contract, but they saw validity in Helene's changes.
Okay. Do you have other board comment?
Do
we keep track of all the fees? to
We
make sure
do.
We get them all back?
Yes, they come in quarterly and we house them, and then we have to provide an annual report on how we utilize the fees. And it's basically 90.2 cents a square foot is what it breaks out to be for new construction. And there's different variables, but that's about what it works out to be. And every district gets the same.
What does it work out to on an annual basis on average?
It depends on construction. So how many square feet of construction you have throughout the year. And I don't have, I could research it, but I think last year was a couple $100,000, somewhere in that neighborhood. I'm probably misspeaking, but I could research it and let you know.
Okay.
It's easy enough to find.
Okay.
Just out of my own curiosity, what, Templeton has gone their own way, they don't contract with the county or
That's correct.
what was the advantage, what's the advantage compared to county versus county stuff?
When you do not have the county collect your fees, you could set your own rate. So Templeton's rate is slightly higher for all construction. And then they have another clause for two-story or more, and their fee, I believe it's close to $1 a square foot for residential commercial construction. For a single story, two-story it goes up to $1.58 a square foot. So it goes up quite a bit, and they're able to do that. But they have mechanisms in place to actually collect those fees. They have staff and the support to do that. We rely on the county to do it for us.
And help me with this if I'm wrong, but when we spoke to John Person today, Templeton elected to go on their own, and they're trying to do a tax initiative, $100 per parcel to raise. And in the last 20 years, this is their 4th attempt, and they have failed.
But these are two different items.
They are, but I'm just saying.
They're trying to increase their revenue.
So they're trying to increase their revenue, and they went on their own, and they burdened the cost of doing that on their own. And they have failed in that same arena because they're doing it themselves. So there's a cost to it, and not necessarily good.
Yeah, you'd have to weigh out whether or not it's worth it to have staff, manage this, or just have the county simply do it and forward the funds to us, and we just prove that we spent it properly.
So what are the benefits of having the county?
The benefits of having the county is when people come in during their permit process, they pay the fees to the county collects the fees, they record how much they're sending to us, then they just cut us a check. And all we have to do is say, this is how we're using the fees. Either we're housing them for a capital project, we spent them on capital improvements for the facility, we purchased a vehicle, we have a vehicle replacement policy we're housing the funds in. Whatever we could utilize the restricted funds for is all we have to prove.
Okay. Any other board comment? Any public comment? Back to the board.
Not really the public, but just to clarify his point, he said it's about $100,000. We had $29,431 that was received this year for fire tech fees, and $25,467 that was received last year.
There you go. I saw it in the past, the 2009 report, it was a total for a few years, it was in the $300,000 range. So I'm getting my numbers crossed up, but I have a series of reports. It was for a series of years, so it had like $300-something thousand. But there was a big gap from 2009 to where we are now. So I'm trying to fill those voids.
So 29,000 fiscal year or year to date, calendar year?
For the fiscal year 18-19, it's $29,000.
Okay.
There you go.
All right. Thank you for clarifying. Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve?
Calvin's,
I'll second.
Karen? Was I correct?
Yes.
I wasn't looking, sorry. Director Parent,
Yes.
Director Calvins,
Yes.
Director Palafox,
Yes.
Director Sangster,
Yes.
passes 4-0, 1 absent.
All right, we'll move on to item number 6. Review and adopt a resolution number 2019-24, authorizing the abatement of weeds within the district boundaries.
So this is our weed abatement program. As you can see on the back, the list is considerably larger than it has been in the past. What we did when we did our first assessment with lots that needed abatement, they were put on the list. In the past, we did a second assessment, which is fairly time consuming, and it eliminates ones that have already been abated. But this list is the original list that went out. All these properties have been notified. We start abatement on June 7th. They have to be cut by June 1st. That's what they were notified as. We do an abatement order, so we'll go out and do an assessment, take a picture of the lots that need to be assessed. Those abatement orders will be turned over to a contractor. We currently have one who turned in paperwork that is interested in performing the service, so we've used them in the past. Once they go out, they'll document the time and their rate on these work orders. And we'll only, as I said before, do the lots where we have permission to enter the property, and typically there are lots that are no structures are unoccupied where those are at. So we'll go on, abate those. That list will come back to you in June for your approval to put on the tax roll to the county. So right here, there's 245. I can tell you probably, at least I know 50% of these have already been cut. Being a strange year where we've received this late rain, we're having second, third growth, and so some lots that have been cut, they need to be cut again. And we'll go out and we have to create those work orders for the contractor, and then that's where the list will be done. And so the list will be built off the abatement orders once they're cut back to us.
Okay. Yes.
Are you looking to see if you're on the list?
No, he's gotta read something.
Staff requested the board hold discussion to consider objections to the notice to remove, destroy, and/or abate vegetation, rubbish, and debris. Overrule any objections and adopt resolution number 2019-24 authorizing fire chief to have weed abatement work performed.
Open it up to public.
Do we have any public comment? No public comment. Back to the board. Any board comment?
It seems that's a pretty hefty list to maintain. Are you expecting a lot of, is there like gonna be more revision of this list before everything's done?
So what'll happen at this point, this is the list, this is what was assessed the first round. In the past, I've gone out and done basically 2 rounds.
Right.
Well, we only do work orders for the ones that haven't been cut, so only the lots that were notified that are on this list will be the ones assessed. I believe we've covered 100% of the district to where the work order will go to the contractor will cut. He'll only start cutting on the 7th, and for 1 week. If a lot that's on this list, say had a work order generated and it's already cut, then it won't end up on the final list that you will get to approve.
Okay, and there's no way that the guy doing this is gonna say, oh yeah, I cut that.
We take pictures of the lots that the work orders,
Okay,
the abatement order that I
so
give
you're
to the
making the
con-
determination of whether or not it's been cut, not the
Absolutely.
contractor.
So
Okay.
this list will be taken, lots that need abatement, a picture will be taken, and a abatement order will be generated. That'll be turned over to the contractor, they'll abate that lot, we'll take a second picture and attach it to the order.
Okay.
And then that list will be generated, that's what comes back to you in June for approval to go on the tax roll.
Okay.
And these 245 properties are all accessible properties, or these are all that just need abatement?
These are all that need abatement.
So not entirely accessible?
Correct.
Okay.
Are the vast majority of them accessible?
You know, I'm gonna say no, I mean, because we were very thorough this year. And in the past, I've come up with 160 to 200 lots, but I did a second assessment, which dropped it down into the 40s or 50s by the time the abatement order went out. It even dropped further by the time they went to cut. Some people, they run out there with their lawnmowers, the guy's pulling up or something, but.
Right.
Last year we got down to like 12.
We got down to 12 to 14 lots.
Okay.
Little areas that we have issues with, and we just make phone calls, are county areas, railroad areas, or Caltrans areas.
Okay.
And this year, because of the growth, 2 years ago, we didn't even have an
Yeah,
issue,
it
because
was
there
crazy
was
this
no
year.
grass. But now, I mean, we've had second and third growth, and then stuff that's out there is pretty tall.
Yeah.
So we'll be making those phone calls and pressuring them to come out and cut.
Okay.
We find most of them that we do are on trusts and stuff like that.
There,
In trusts, yeah, that they done.
Okay.
an unoccupied lot where they don't frequent it.
I've got a question for,
There'll be public comment in a second.
I thought it was.
Any other board comments?
But we'll get to that.
Okay.
Oh, okay. This is just a question for Rob, or anybody. Does anybody remember last year, Rob, we had this nut on that big yellow mower? And he was out, you know, he mowed, you know, different lots around and everything, and he was crazy. Was you able to watch him?
I did not observe or witness it myself.
Yeah. Well, I just wonder if you hired him.
If he was part of who was doing the abatement?
Well,
then
he was mowing, he mowed all the lots over there, and he mowed these, and he mowed the ones up, there.
Okay.
I mean, the guy was freaking dangerous. I mean,
Well, I'll make sure that our contractors are within their, using the.
yeah, I mean, I thought if he started it, and everyone was saying, God damn, look at all that nut out there. You know, picking up dust, flying. I mean,
It feels like the heater's on.
Sorry, let me go turn that off.
Blasted up.
But-
No, I understand what you're saying. We'll
Yeah.
check with our contractor and make sure
Yeah.
that he's using the equipment appropriately.
what, yeah, I mean, well, I looked at it, I couldn't, it was parked down there by the fire, or here by the fire
Right,
station.
right.
And it was a rental, I mean, he was just wrecking the equipment, kicking up dust and rocks, I mean, he wasn't just mowing, he was, just as fast as he could.
Yeah, well,
So,
Well, I'll check with our contractor and make sure that they're doing the service appropriately.
I mean, we couldn't figure out who the nut was.
Okay, well, thank you for your comment.
Thank you.
There was a gentleman, I don't know, the other day on that lot that's next to my place, he was mowing that, and he was also driving kind of erratically. Cause I've used zero turn mowers before and I know what you're not supposed to be doing with them, and he literally was driving over stumps, he saw the mower twice out there, was kicking rocks and everything.
This was a big tractor.
Oh, it was a big tractor?
Yeah, this wasn't,
It wasn't
just a riding mower. I mean, this was a big tractor. It had a flail mower on the side,